Welcome to our channel Elimika Mtandaoni. My name is Agustino Mogosi. Probably you are here because you want so badly to learn programming and somehow you find it difficulty. So with a series of videos in this channel, I promise you to make you learn and understand programming very well. So just follow up with me. I will have a series of videos. This is the first video in the series of the videos. To understand programming, you need to understand its principles. So in this series of videos, I will explain to you such principles. We'll start by talking about computer programming. So by the way, what is computer programming? In fact, speaking of computer programming is an act of writing computer programs. These computer programs are sequence of instructions that are written using a computer programming language to perform a specified task by the computer. As you can see in the definition, we have two important terms that we have used in that definition. The first term is the sequence of instructions, and the second term is computer programming. To understand these terms, let you consider a situation where you have someone asking you about how to go to a certain place. Let's say you are in Dodoma at the Dodoma University, and you are at the hostel, and you want to explain to someone or to instruct someone how he or she can find the UDOM cafeteria from the hostel. Then what you will do is you will use a normal human language to tell the way to go to that cafeteria. For example, you could say first go straight, after that you go 3 meters, then take left from the, let's say, this third block, go around 10 meters, then you will find the cafeteria. So you have given an instruction, you have given an instruction to that someone using a certain language. For example, there I have used an English language. I could say it in Kiswahili, sema maybe nenda moja kwa moja, ukifika pale mbele hatua 10 kata kushoto, baada ya hapo kunja kulia, then mbele yako utaona sehemu ya kulia. So that is just an instruction. So you can use any language. So for a computer to understand what to do, then computer needs instructions. So such a sequence of instructions are what we call computer program. So, and we use a certain language to give instructions to someone. The same, if we want to give instructions to a computer, then we use a computer programming language. So a computer program is a sequence of instructions that are written using a computer programming language to perform a specified task by a computer. So if you are following a sequence of instructions, then you can put such instructions in lines. The first one could be, let's say, go straight. The second, go 3 meters. The third, take left. The fourth, go around 10 meters. Then fifth, search for a cafeteria. So now let's try to map the situation with the computer program. For example, if we have a computer program and we want to tell it, let's say, to write something on a screen, then such instructions that we give or we have given to a computer to using human language, then we can use a computer language to explain. For example, on the screen there, you see an example of a computer program that has been written. This program has only one instruction, that is see out Elimika Mtandaoni. What does that mean? That instruction that we have given to a computer, we tell a computer to print to the screen the words Elimika Mtandaoni. So it's a kind of instruction, and that computer program that you see there is written in a computer language that is called C++. In the series of videos that are coming, then we will talk about how we can write different instructions using different computer languages. And one of the programming language that we will use as an example is a C++ programming language. So what's a computer program? Is a computer program? In fact, a computer program, as we have said, is a sequence of instructions that is written using computer programming language. This computer program, in other words, it is called a computer software, and it ranges from 2 lines to millions of lines of instruction. We have talked about the instructions, so we can have a single instruction to represent a computer program, or millions of instructions. That means millions of lines of instructions to a computer. And in fact, if you have a number of instructions, then we will have a lot for a computer to do. So computer program instructions are also called the program source code. So if you have heard about program source codes, then those are the instructions that are given to a computer for it to do something. And the computer programming as an act is also called the programming or program coding. You have to note something, that if you talk about a computer, then you talk about 2 things. You talk about a program and the computer as a box. That means the hardware. So we have 2 important components of a computer. That is a software, that which is a program, and a hardware, that is that box that you see as a computer box, plus the keyboard and everything that are tangible that you can see. So if you have a computer that has no computer program in it, then that is just a dumb box. It is the programs that make the computer active. So as we have developed so many languages as human beings, these languages, we use them to communicate among ourselves. So if a Chaga person wants to communicate with another Chaga, then they use the Chaga language. If a Tanzanian wants to communicate with another Tanzanian, then they use a Kiswahili language. So as human beings, we have developed several languages that we use to communicate. We have computer scientists that have developed several other languages to provide instructions to computers. So computers also have a number of languages that they can use to accept or to get instructions. So now that we have understood what a computer program is, then we can say the act of writing computer program is called computer programming. And there are hundreds of programming languages which can be used to write computer programs. We have languages like C, we have languages like C++, we have languages like Java, languages like Python, PHP, Perl, Ruby. As different languages have different flavors, they have different syntaxes, they have different structures. The same with these computer programming languages. They have different flavors, they have different structures, different syntaxes, and the like. Someone who can write computer programs is called a programmer. Someone who can write computer programs is called a programmer. So as you are here, you are following up these videos or series of videos. In the end, if you get to understand well what I'm telling you, then in the end, you will also become a person who can write such programs, and you will be called a programmer. So let's see the uses of computer programs. In this world today, computer programs are being used in almost every field, every household, in agriculture, in medical, in entertainment, in everything that you know. people use computers. We have some application programs such as word processing like Microsoft Word. We have Excel words. We have Adobe Photoshop. We have several examples of computer programs. These are used one to develop some graphics and special effects in movies, in different pictures, in whatever. We use computer programs to perform, let's say, medical examinations such as ultrasounds, such as X-ray and other medical examinations. Some use computers in mobile phones. For example, some use these programs in mobile phones. We have some programs for SMS, for chatting, for voice communication, etc., etc. So computers have several uses. Now let's go into details and talk about algorithms. Speaking of algorithms, while you are writing computer programs, we have talked about instructions that we write for a computer to do something. Then a step-by-step procedure to resolve any problem, to resolve a problem that we want a computer to solve. That step-by-step procedure is what we call algorithm. In fact, algorithm is an effective method expressed as a finite set of well-defined instructions. So we go back to instructions. If we have a finite set of well-defined instructions, then that make what we call algorithms. Thus, a computer programmer lists down all the steps that are required to resolve a certain problem before writing a code. So before going to writing the instructions for the computer, then you get to define such set of instructions so that you can resolve a certain problem. Think of this. You want to create a computer program that can add two numbers. Then you can write a set of instructions in a certain sequence. You can give a certain method. For example, you can say get a list of numbers. Say number 1 is called X and number 2 is called Y. Then take number 1, add with number X, add it with number Y. Then these addition of these two numbers will result into another number. Let's call it Z. Then after getting the result, then you say show the result Z. So you see such steps. For example, another example of an algorithm, think of this. For example, you want to you have a list of numbers, then you want to print the largest number. Then you can say get a list of numbers, say L1, L2, L3 until Ln. Then assume L1 is the largest number at first. So you say largest is equal to L1. Then take the next number, say Li, from the list of numbers and do the following. If you test that that largest number, the first largest number you had, is less than this second number that we called Li, then now the largest number will be Li. So if Li is the last number in the process, then print the value which is in L1 to be the largest number. Else you go back and repeat the process from step 3 that we have identified. So such procedure, we call it algorithm. So before going to write a computer program or before going to write instructions for a computer, then you have to set a finite set of instructions. You have to write such procedure of how you can resolve that problem. And as you write such a finite set of instructions, we call it algorithm. Now let's talk about the basics of computer programming. We say computer programming basics. Computer programming languages are made up of several elements. We have a lot of elements. We have basic syntax, we have data types, we have variables, keywords, basic operators, decision making, loops, numbers, characters, arrays, strings, functions, etc. But we have another important thing which is called a programming environment or a environment setup. Although environment setup is not an element of any programming language, but it is the first step that should be followed before setting on to write a computer program. Now let's see a computer programming environment, what it is. It is very important for us to understand what is environment. Speaking of environmental setup, this is simply a base on top of which we can do our programming. So in order for us to write computer programs, then we need an environment that will help us to write such instructions to a computer. Thus, we need to have a required software. So there is another program that is specifically for writing computer program. So we install that software in a PC, and that software will be used to write computer programs. Then it will be used to compile and execute such computer programs. So you need the following in order to have or to set up a programming environment or to use any programming language. You need first what we call a text editor that is used to create a computer program. As we have said, we need to write instructions. So you need a software that will facilitate the process of writing. That is called the text editor. For example, we have several text editor like a Notepad. And there are some text editors that are embedded in a biggest environment. We call it integrated development environment. We also need a compiler to compile the programs into binary format, or we need an interpreter to execute the programs directly. So speaking of a compiler, actually computers cannot understand your program directly if it is given in the text format. So what you need to do, you need to convert such program that is written in a text format to convert it into a binary format. As you remember, when we in a series of videos on the introduction to information technology, we talked about binary language, that language that computer understand, which is made up of zeros and ones. So if we write something, if we write instructions to a computer using a text format, this text format cannot be directly understood by a computer. So it needs to be converted into a binary format, which is then which can then be understood by the computer. So the conversion from the text program to a binary file is done by using another program that is called a compiler. Thus, the process of converting from text formatted program to binary formatted program is called program compilation, and the program is called the compiler. So finally, you can execute binary file to perform the programmed task. So if it is in a kind of drawing, then we can say think of this. We have here as a computer file. This is a computer file. Then we take this computer file, which is in text format, we put it in a certain program called the compiler. This compiler converts this computer file into another file that is called the binary file. Then after you have the binary file, there is where a computer can execute that program. So if you are going to write your program in any such language which needs compilation, we have languages that need to be compiled. For example, languages such as C, C++, Java, Pascal. Then you will need to install another program that is called a compiler before you start programming. But compilers are required in case you need to write your program in a programming language that needs to be compiled into binary format. But if there are some other programming languages, for example, a language like Python, or a language like PHP, or a language like Perry, these they do not need any compilation into a binary format. Rather, they need what we call interpreter. This interpreter can be used to read such programs line by line, and they execute them directly without any conversion. So if you are going to write your programs in PHP, or in Python, or in Perry, or in Ruby, etc., then you will need to install a program called the interpreter before you start programming. So a compiler required to convert a computer file, we had a computer file here, then we needed to have a compiler to convert it to now we have what we call interpreter. So we have a computer file here, then interpreter reads line after line, then execution occurs. So we don't need what we call a compiler. We don't need a compiler because interpreters, they read line after line. Now let's talk about integrated development environment. We said that environmental setup needs has components, that is a text editor and a compiler or interpreter. But speaking of integrated development environment, this is a comprehensive a software application that provides such facilities in one part. So it includes the text editor, it includes the compilers or the interpreters at one point. So we have a number of different IDE or integrated development environment. For example, for C++, we have integrated development environments like DeviC++, that you can download it through www.bloodshed.net, or you can this is an open source software, you can download it. Or we have Visual Studio Code, is also open source IDE development it is developed by Microsoft, that you can download it through code.visualstudio.com. We have another CodeBlocks. This you can download it through www.codeblocks.org. We have Eclipse. This you can download it via www.eclipse.org. We have others like CodeLight, we have Sublime Text, we have NetBeans, we have Qt Creator, Brackets, Atom. There are so many integrated development environment for C++. For Java, a programming language, we have NetBeans, we have Eclipse, we have BlueJ, JEdit, we have JGrasp, we have JSOS, JDeveloper, Dr. Java, etc. For Python, we have Spider, we have PyDev, we have Idle, we have Wing, PyCharm. For PHP, we have PHP Storm, we have Eclipse, NetBeans, we have Selenium IDE, Angular, Zendy Studio. There are so many. If you are programming using a language called Ruby, we have RubyMine, Aptana Studio, we have Selenium IDE, we have Eclipse, we have Komodo IDE. Even NetBeans can be used for Ruby development. If you are developing using Perry, we have a programming language like we have IDE like Padre, Epic, Komodo Edit, Vim, if you are using Unix or Linux operating systems. So this is an introduction of principles of programming. For you to understand programming language, for you to understand programming or any programming language and you want to become a programmer, you need to understand the principles. So this is the first video in the series of videos that I will bring to you regarding principles of programming. This is Elimika Mtandaoni and I'm your instructor, Agustino Mogos. Salute. Thank you very much.